I think our criminal justice system is working as intended. In fact, there's a long history in this country of dealing with problems in the African American community through criminal justice system, criminalizing social problems in a way that we don't do in other communities. Looked at the research, you would find that somewhere around 60 to 70% of the people in prisons and in jails are suffering some sort of mental health problem. Upwards of 50%, go in there dealing with some sort of chemical dependency. Viewed from another lens, these are public health problems.
And that particularly in two cases where 252 lashes and 291 lashes were given, he was guilty of an act of barbarity altogether unprecedented.
From England, John Pinney, who had sold his slaves to Huggins, wrote in dismay at their disobedience.
I am truly sorry to hear that the Negroes have not behaved as they ought, and you wish. During my long residence in the island, no people could have behaved better in general than they did. We know the disposition of these people. They are apt to try the temper of a new master by not being as correct in their conduct as they ought.
Today, ironically, the gauge of an officer's success is that activity: arrest, citation, searches, and stops. A good day in policing is when I've hooked and booked all day long.
I think when you're going through life knowing every time you walk out of your apartment building that you might be able to be arrested for something that you did not do is so profoundly un-American, that you could be arrested for anything at any time, that a cop could put drugs on you, could then get on the witness stand in a courthouse and say that you were guilty when you were not.
2 Bloomfield cops have now been indicted. A third quietly pleaded guilty to tampering and retired. It's all because of video the cops may have tried to hide.
Get out the car!
This is the Bloomfield Police Department's dash cam video that prosecutors say they never saw when they pursued criminal charges against 30-year-old Marcus Jeter. Notice his hands in the air. He was charged with eluding police, resisting arrest, and assault. And also notice who throws repeated punches. The tape not initially turned over is on the dash of a second police car that comes from the opposite direction, crosses the median into oncoming traffic, and then strikes Jeter's car. There is no mention of that in any police report.
Next thing I know, as he's coming around the car, the glass gets busted, and all the glass goes in my face.
Get out the car!
Your hands are up.
My hands are up. As soon as he opened the door, one of the officers reached in and just punched me in my face. As he's trying to take the seatbelt off, he's elbowing me in my jaw. And I'm like, ah, and he's like, stop trying to take my gun. Stop resisting arrest. Stop trying to take my gun. And as he's saying it, I just knew, and I was thinking back in my mind, like, okay, this is gonna go wrong.
Get down! Stop resisting! Stop resisting! Why are you trying to get my gun? Get off my gun!
And right before when they opened the door about to put me in, the officer hits me in the back of the head again.
As soon as prosecutors saw this video, they dismissed all of the charges against Jeter. Interesting to note, an investigation by Bloomfield PD's scandal-plagued Internal Affairs Division had found no wrongdoing by police officers.
Police talk about the thin blue line, that kind of commitment they share to protecting each other in the line of duty. But if a cop crosses that line by reporting a corrupt officer, that camaraderie vanishes. In fact, cross that line, and like Shannon Spalding, you may just find a target on your back.
The search for a gunman who killed a Baltimore police officer is entering its 9th day. 18-year police veteran Sean Suter was gunned down in a vacant lot. He was shot the day before he was expected to testify in a high-profile corruption case involving other Baltimore police officers.
Good morning. Police continue to believe Detective Suter was the victim of a random attack while investigating a murder in a neighborhood prone to violence. But after 9 days in a citywide manhunt, they are yet to name a suspect, and the lack of developments has heightened interest in Suter's grand jury testimony. Baltimore police have asked the FBI to enhance this audio from Detective Sean Suter's final radio call.
It's unintelligible right now. We don't know exactly what he said, but he was clearly in distress.
Photos of Breonna Taylor's apartment following the deadly police encounter for the very first time show the damage caused by the police after they entered the apartment with a search warrant and fired more than 20 rounds on March 13th. Taylor was hit at least 8 times. After gaining national attention, the case will be handed over to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office once the local investigation is complete.
Stay with us. This protest started not long after the mayor's office released the 911 calls from the shooting. And tonight, for the first time, we are hearing that 911 call from Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, desperately begging for assistance, all while trying to wake up his girlfriend that night.
I don't know what's happening. Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend.
Kenneth Walker is heard crying out Breonna Taylor's name.
Bring you said 26, where was she shot at? I don't know. She's on the grill right now. I don't know.
On the phone with an EMS dispatcher for 2 minutes, he tries to explain what happened.
Help! Oh my God! Yes, help! What's your name, sir? Is she alert able to talk to you? No.
The 911 call was shared with WHES 11 by Taylor's family attorney Sam Aguiar. Just minutes later, Mayor Greg Fisher released the audio, calls from neighbors, transcripts, and a timeline of the reports to the public, saying in part, "I have heard the calls from the community to share facts as quickly as possible." In a statement, Sam Aguiar said, "Listening to the call is one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. It's a shame it took a subpoena for the audio to be shared."